Tavach. Rishus and many community Rabbanim are here this evening. Take a minute for a few thank yous. First and foremost, we'd like to thank Rabbi Weinberger Shlita, Rabbi Rubenstein Shlita, for coming out after a busy Shabbos. Rabbi Rubenstein, who was here for Shabbos, elevated the community and spoke many times. Rabbi Weinberger, who no doubt was very busy over Shabbos, to come out to them seems like the other side of the world. For us, this is the world, and you're on the other side of the world. But to come out on a Motzei Shabbos, we really appreciate. The community's been very excited. Leading up to this, I'd also like to thank Ben Lutz and the Chavra, I'm sorry to your names, for joining us tonight in Israel. Welcome home, Ben. Welcome home, Ben, who grew up in this beautiful community. Many people were involved in putting this together. The beauty of this community is that none of them want to be mentioned, but there are many people who helped sponsor tonight, helped financially, people who set up the chairs, the room, the ambiance, the live stream. There was a lot that went into it, and there are two people in particular, one in our end and one from the Five Towns, who spent hours and were able to put this together with tremendous pikchus and tremendous menschlichkeit, and they know who I'm talking to, so thank you very much for showing all of us a round of applause. Not just putting this together, but for showing us what real askanos and Osek B'tzorchei Tzibur could and should look like. So thank you very much, and it's a kavod gadol for us to have Rabbi Weinberger on Motzei Shabbos Vayechi. It's fascinating. This parsha is about really the events leading up to Yaakov Avinu's Petira, yet it's called Vayechi, which means life. Zalman Saratskin, the Chatzad Baruch points out, there's one other parsha that has the word Chayim in it, Chay, which is Chay Sarah. And that parsha is primarily about the Misa of Sari Menu. Unbelievable. Two parshas about death, and both parshas have the word Chay, Chayim, Chiyas in it. The pshat is obvious. A person could be no longer living, but they're very much alive. Yaakov Avinu lo meis, his legacy. What Sari Menu stood for, what she did, that hashpah is still present today. And the people who could be alive walking around, but they're basically not Chayim. There's lo amos and there's ki echya. And not everyone who's lo amos is ki echya, is living, is chiyas, and who is alive. I think Rabbi Weinberger, Shlita, and Rabbi Rubenstein now are pumping chiyas, chayim, into everything we do. This is true for those who are not learned. This is true for the biggest Talmidei Chachamim. The learning life, davening, Yiddishkeit, has a chayim to it, has a chiyas. There's a palpable, real feeling of chayim that permeates everything he does and the people that he is being mashpia on, all of us tonight. And we're looking forward tonight to having more chayim, and we appreciate you coming and giving us that chiyus. So, b'kavod gadol, Rabbi Weinberger.
Ashkar for the Rav, the Chashav Rabbanim who are here. Some I know, some I don't know. Some old Chaverim that are here. Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Rubenstein is the beloved Mashpia of our Kehillah. And we've started a I don't want to call it a program because it sounds like something that's cold. We've started a world, Eish Lahava, to try to go outside of our enclave on the other side of the world, Woodmere. It's hard for us not to have a Yeshua with us for Shabbos, but we will have such smachas knowing that he's with you. And how much chiyus he gave you, as the Rav said. Heosu v'agida lachem sashikra eschem ha'achis hayamim. Heosu v'agida lachem. Gathered together, Yaakov said before he left the world, Yaakov wanted his children to come together. He also, the Heilige Vision of the Holy Vision has said, that he also of Agilachem, it's like Yikres Chamachris Yom means that it's going to be so much that you're going to go through until the end of time. It's going to be so much. It's not going to be easy. And there's only one way that you're going to be able to survive, your children, grandchildren, our grandchildren. There's only one way that they're going to be able to survive. And that's with He'os. The Jews coming together. The Jews verbrengen. He'os v'vagidalachem. Es asher yikra eschem v'achris hayom. With Bnei Yissaschar, and I've the Pirkim, Tzaddikim, many Tzaddikim said that the Ikar at the end of time is going to be Jews coming together, giving each other chizuk. And Yaakov Avinu was worried about his children. He was worried about his own children, he was worried about us. And everybody knows we just lived through this parasha, we just lay in the parasha, we learned the parasha. That the start from the Shekhinah, that the Shekhinah left him. The Shekhinah left him and he was worried. He knew that his grandfather had a Yishmael. And he knew that he had a brother, Esav. Yitzchak had an Esav. And he felt something was missing. He stopped him in the Shekhinah left. And he felt that something was missing. And the Gemara tells us, the Gemara says, that the Shvatim, the children, felt this fear. I talk to parents every day. On the way here, I was talking to parents who are frightened for their children. The Gashmi is, I didn't even want to see the news. I know that my wife was sitting in the kitchen at the Shabbos and she was crying. And I understood it meant. She saw that, she said to me there were 4 boys that were killed. The Gashmi is, the Bleibel Eges Chusilin says that they needed lighting the Hanukkah candles outside the house. Is that Yaakov Avinu was standing with the candle waiting for his children to come home. And there are parents whose children are not coming home. And there are children who are physically safe. They're not held hostage someplace in Gaza. They're not in Lebanon. But we're afraid for them. The times that we're living in, we're afraid. And the Shvatim said, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Kishem she'ein b'libcha ela echad, kach ein b'libeinu ela echad. Kishem she'ein b'libcha ela echad, kach ein b'libeinu ela echad means that we want to reassure you. Yisrael, Shema Yisrael, the Father Yisrael. We want to reassure you, our Father Yisrael. The same way that your heart is filled with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Kishem she'ein b'libcha ela echad, kach ein b'libeinu ela echad. So too, we also are vacant, bound to that one God. And the Gemara says that the Zakin, the old man, opened his mouth and he screamed out, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusa Leilam Ved. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusa Leilam Ved. Now the Gemara, you know, over there the Gemara has a problem with this. What do we do with this Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusa Leilam Ved? What do we do with this? And the Gemara asks to say it. And the Gemara says, Le'om Roi Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't say this in Torah. He just said Shema. Moshe never said the words Baruch Shem Kivod Malchus Le'olam V'ed. So, what are we going to do? On the other hand, not to say it, Yaakov Amar. Yaakov Avinu said, he left the world in such a way that Baruch Shem Kivod Malchus Le'olam V'ed. So the Eskinu of the Gemara came up with a very strange resolution. The Gemara says that we say it, but how? B'chashai. Still high. We whisper. Except Yom Kippur. But every other time, we whisper those words, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchus Le'olam V'ed. So we need to understand. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu not say those words? And why did Yaakov Avinu say those words? And what is the meaning of this whisper? What kind of a compromise is that? What does that mean? The whisper of Baruch Shem Kivod Malchus Le'olam V'ed. What does that accomplish? What does that do? What is the meaning of that? So there's a Sefer Yismach Yisrael from Heilige Alexander Rebbe Schusay Yelaim. If you have the Sefer, it's a beautiful piece. It's the fourth piece in this Shabbos. It's a long Torah. I want to share with you just the Nekuda HaPnimis of what that tzaddik says. We find it in Navi, the Navi Yeshaya. The Navi tells us that every malach has 6 wings. But on the other hand, in the first parak of Yecheskel, we're taught that a malach has 4 wings. It's the Gemara in Chagiga that Yud Gimel, the Gemara asks, what's going on? Does a malach have 6 or does a malach have 4? The Gemara answers and says that Yeshaya Navi lived at the time of the Beis HaMikdash. And when the Beis HaMikdash was Al-Mechayna, when the Beis HaMikdash was there, and the world was in a place, in a good place. So at that time, the Malachim each had 6 wings. The Yecheskel Navi is what he's talking about after the Churban. And the Vias of Yecheskel is after the Churban. So as a result of the Churban, each Malach had to have 2 of its wings clipped. 2 wings were taken from each of the Malachim. Because of the Churban. And the Zohar Kodesh says that the 6 words, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchus Le'olam V'ed, are the 6 wings of the angels. Each wing corresponds to another word of those words that were first said by Yaakov Avinu on that day. So that means, Yismach Yisrael says that means that if 2 wings were torn away from every malach, which obviously means a very deep thing, because it was torn away from us as well, as we'll talk about in a minute. That if 2 wings were torn away from every malach, it means that something happened to 2 words from this sentence of Yaakov Avinu, that there are 2 words missing. From Baruch Shem Kivod Malchus Le'olam V'ed. What are the 2 words that are missing? What are the 2 words that were taken away? So Yismach Yisrael says that he heard that there's a difference of opinion. The Rebbe of Melech, the Rebbe of Melech from the Gens, Schusay Yelaim, and the Kozen Samagid, Schusay Yelaim, said that the 2 words, the 2 wings, the 2 words, are Kroid Malchusa. I think that's probably what we would have on our own, we would have thought of. They knew that, the way that tzaddikim know. Kvod Malchus are the missing two words, the wings that were taken off the angels, because it's very difficult to fly in a world, not just for angels, but for us as well. For the Malchus of Hashem is so hidden. And as a result of the Churban Beis HaMikdash, the Jewish people were taken in chains off in Golus, taken away in Golus, al Naharos Bavel. As a result of the Churban Beis HaMikdash, the Jewish people are going to be in a world where the whole world is a big chilul Hashem. Where's the Kavod HaMalchus? If there are 4 boys that were killed over Shabbos, where's the Kavod HaMalchus? And if there are Jews who are still being held prisoners, and the whole world is mocking, and the whole world is hating us, and the whole world adirabah, forget about sympathy. We don't need their sympathy. But there's never been such a sinner since the Milchama, because of our suffering. Because of Jewish babies, Jewish children being beheaded, and Jewish women being defiled. So the Gemara itself said, after the Churban, that they couldn't say anymore. They removed the words from Shemoneh Esrei, Gibor v'Noira, because Ayeg v'Roisav, Ayeg Neirosav. Where's Hashem's strength? Where is the awesomeness of the Creator? We believe that He's there. We believe the Satmar Rebbe Schusi Elenu after the Milchama. I mentioned in Shul recently that the Satmar Rebbe after the Milchama was the first Yom Tov in New York after the Milchama. And I heard this from my mother's cousin who was there. That the Satmar Rebbe was talking to a small gathering of Shevis HaPleit, of survivors, like himself. And he screamed out, Galei Kvod Malchuscha. We know that you're here, and we know that you were there these past 5 years, but where are you? We don't see you. We want to see you. So they couldn't say the words, Ayeg Gibra Noira, because Ayeg V'Roisav, Ayeg Neirosav. Show yourself. So the Rebbe of Melech Nekushas HaMagid said that the wings were torn from the angels because the two words Kvod Malchus of Kavod HaMalchus. Or Kavod HaMalchus. But the Ayah, you saw the Abder Rav, Schusi Elenu, the Abder Rav disagreed. Because the Abder Rav said the Sof Kosov, the Gemara ends by saying, Hein Hein V'Roisav, Hein Hein Neirosav, that there's one gentle lamb. This one gentle lamb, this Kisva Achaz, that is able to survive among 70 Za'evim, 70 wolves that are trying to tear us apart, that are trying to consume us and to destroy us for thousands of years. Hein Hein V'Roisav, Hein Hein Neirosav. Hashem's Malchus is revealed through the existence of Am Yisrael, for our perseverance to go on, to keep mitzvahs, to continue on, despite the Astaponim in our lives, despite the concealment. There's no bigger Kavod HaMalchus. So after I've said, those are not the two words. It's not Kvod Malchus. So what are the two words? The two wings, the two words? What do you think, Heaven? The Abder Rav said, Lo Elam Va'ed. Lo Elam Va'ed. And Yismach Yisrael explains. Listen carefully. Right now, we're in a matzah of Hayosva. We're gathered together with Hashem. Jews. We're singing the Gunam of Kedusha, sharing the Torah. It's gewaldig. But what's going to be tomorrow? What's going to be even later tonight? I don't know. He brings the Tanya. And the Rav in the Tanya, of course, tells us that there are 3 basic categories of Jews, that there are subcategories, and you all learned them Shul Tanya, if you know. I hope so. You're saying, Ladas Kol Ra Seidach, that's what you were singing. That's the beginning of knowing the secrets. So there's a tzaddik, and on the other side you have a Rasha, and you have a Beinoni. And in those there are categories, the Toivloi or Aloi. There are few Jews in the world. In every generation, Chazal already said back then that there are only a few. And Hashem puts them in every generation in a couple. Tzaddikim. But a tzaddik is not like they say nowadays, if somebody does you a favor, he's a tzaddik. It's nice, but it's a tzaddik. You have parents that call. I remember my father heard me call my son when he was little, because I asked him to get something, and he said, Shkoyach tzaddik. My father said, Shana tzaddik. He said, tzaddik. Because he got you your slippers, he's a tzaddik. My father said, I saw tzaddik, it's not a tzaddik of bringing you your slippers. The kid has to bring his father his slippers. It's kind of tzaddik. There are very few tzaddik. Mu'atim heim. But a tzaddik is a person that's Allah Olam Ve'ed Jew. You understand what that means? Olam Ve'ed means you can be sure that if he's holy, Moshe Shabbos Pashas Vayechi, he's in a good place. You can be sure that tomorrow morning he's going to be a good place too. Because the tzaddik is a shtik emes. And emes means Aleph Mem Sof. It means from the beginning to the end. L'olam Ve'ed. You go to a chasna. Mr. Shem had this week, we have 2 chasnas, Bez Hashem. When I was a kid, I thought that every chasna, that they live happily, the chasna child live happily ever after. Not so posh. I have 2 children who are divorced, little them. It's not posh. I didn't think by the chasna that they were going to end up like that. I didn't think that. I thought it was going to be life, L'olam Ve'ed. And all the speeches by Sheva Brachas were beautiful. And I thought it was going to be L'olam Ve'ed. The world of the tzaddik is very, very unusual. It's very rare. Even Moshe Rabbeinu and his madrega, not Masik Moshe Rabbeinu, but even Moshe Rabbeinu and his madrega, there was something that wasn't the way it was supposed to be on his madrega. Only because Chazal tells us, and the Pasuk says, there's no such thing in this world. That tzaddik is something different. Then you have the other end of the spectrum, as a Rasha, Lo Aleinu. There are people like that are consistently bad. They're just, you know what to expect from them. But most of us are in the category of Beinoni. Even though I know in the Tanya Beinoni is a Bal Madrega. So you learn that you know the Beinoni is a Bal Madrega. But borrowing the term from Chazal, a Beinoni, meaning that, like I mentioned, I was talking to the Chavah before in Shul, that there are these terrible labels that Jews in our community sometimes we use. Like you say, a person who's from birth, they say an FFB. You heard that? And about Shul, they call what? A BT. But many years ago, there was a friend of mine who was Machar. There's something called an FFBWL. You know what that is? It means from birth with lapses. Raising hand, no, you don't have to raise your hand. You understand that most of us are not able to sustain a kedusha Yiddishkeit of L'olam Ve'ed. Yalu Shemayim, Yedu Tohemos. We have big aliyahs, like right now, it's Gevaldik. And then we don't know what's going to be tomorrow. We try. We don't know our children, how many times I've heard that sentence. But Rebbe, he was the best kid in high school. He was the best kid in high school. He was the best learner. He was in shul every day. And the end of the story really ends. This next part of the paragraph is describing the drugs, the girls. He's in rehab now, and he's not doing well. I'm having these conversations all the time. Parents from all over. From the firmest homes, the finest homes, nicest parents. From all over. Because this is a world of sveikis, of sofek. Ishbasha calls the Ilana the sveik of the tree of doubt from the time of Gan Eden, that this is an uncertain world. So Abdurrahman says that Lo'ilam Va'ed, you could feel the love of Hashem one day, and you could feel the chesed of Hashem surrounding you and filling your life one day. And then the next day, you don't know. You don't see Hashem at all in your life. It's completely hidden. And Khalila, you're buried under all kinds of difficulties and dina. So therefore the Abdurrah said that when it comes to Kvoid HaMalchus, the Gemara says, Hein Grois of the existence of Am Yisrael is a gewaltige Nes. And even with all the difficulties of this past year and a half we saw, and we're seeing Nisim, Amish, all kinds of Nisim. But what's tomorrow? And Yaakov was worried about his children. And we're worried about our children and our grandchildren. Lo'ilam Va'ed. What's going to be with Lo'ilam Va'ed? With that foreverness, where everything in life is so unpredictable. There was a 22-year-old bacher, not from here, another place in New Jersey, who came to see me on Thursday, a beautiful, beautiful bacher. And his father was totally healthy, somebody that was working out all the time, was strong and healthy, 52 years old, sat on the staircase, I think it was a Shabbos morning, his head went down, and he died. They still don't know why. It was not an aneurysm. They still haven't figured it out. What happened to him? The Lord went to Ed. How vulnerable, how unpredictable life is. Until Mashiach comes. That, after I've said the two wings of Lo'ilam V'ed, since the Chorban, the two wings of Lo'ilam V'ed, clipped, were taken, are gone. So let's try to understand then, try to finish up and understand the end of the Gemara. So Hiskinu, so that the Kana was, listen, Moshe didn't say it, right? So the mitzvah of saying creation every day is because it says in Torah, means you have to say these words. These words are only in Torah, only Shema Yisrael. So Moshe didn't say Baruch Shem Kamo Huskinu. So how are we supposed to say Baruch Shem Kamo Huskinu? To be in the midst of creation, it's not really bad to go. But not to say the words Yaakov just said the words. So the Gemara said Hiskinu, to say the words with Hashoy, to whisper the words. What does that mean? It says now in Pasha Shmais, the little baby Moshe was in the water. He says, Vatiftach Vatireyu, that the daughter of Paro went out, Vatiftach Vatireyu, Kinar Boicha, there's a baby crying. V'tachnu Shevach Manas. But she said that this is a Yali it's a Yiddish, Jewish child. So the Mendel of Lorca, we spoke very little of Mendel of Lorca. We have very few Torahs from Mendel of Lorca. But Mendel of Lorca said, it's a strange pasuk. It should have said that she heard the baby crying. But it doesn't say that. It says, Vatareyu, Vatiftach Vatareyu. She opened up the thing and she saw there's a baby crying. She should have heard the baby crying when she was walking in the water. She should to go get that. She should have heard there's a baby crying. But Torah, she said, it's a Jewish child. Because Jews, the Rebbe work, he said a Jew knows how to cry without making a sound. You hear the word? Because Jews cry. She couldn't hear the baby crying. And she knew that it's a Jewish child. Because Jews have learned over time how to cry without making a sound. So she saw there was a baby crying. She didn't hear. You know what the whisper means? It's like this. Yaakov Avinu, his children were all tzaddikim. And they reassured him, they said, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. He was worried, but now they reassured him that everything is good. Kishem she'ein b'libcha lachad, kach ein b'libcha lachad, and everything is good. So Yaakov was able to scream out like we do on Yom Kippur. Baruch Shem Kivoid Malchus L'Olam V'eh. Because on Yom Kippur, we're in that place where we feel the covenant of Hashem's Malchus. And Yom Kippur, we're in a place we feel that I'm going to be good tomorrow, the next day, and the day after. We're able to feel the or, the light of L'Olam V'eh. We're able to feel the or of Hashem's Malchus. So in Yom Kippur, we're able to scream like Yaakov Avinu, Baruch Shem Kivoid Malchus L'Olam V'eh. And Yaakov Avinu believed at that moment it was going to be good, and everything's going to be good. And the children, the Einiglech, near Einiglech, till the end of time, we're going to be Giborim, we're going to be heroes. We're going to be gewaldige tzaddikim. And Yaakov screamed out, Baruch Shem Kivoid Malchus L'Olam V'eh, and all the angels were flapping their 6 wings. But Moshe Rabbeinu had different eyes. Moshe Rabbeinu's eyes were able to see further into the future in a different way. Moshe Rabbeinu grew up in a different place, you know that. He had a different upbringing. He saw Rishus, he understood what that was in such a way. And Moshe Rabbeinu knew what it meant to live in Mitzrayim, and what it would mean to live in Yemen and in Persia, in Germany and Hungary and Poland. And Moshe Rabbeinu saw that the covenant of Hashem's Malchus is going to be very, very, very hidden. And that the future is going to bring terrible Chil Hashem, terrible concealment. And Moshe Rabbeinu saw that there was also going to be times when Jews are going to walk away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's not going to be so Poshet L'Olam V'ed. There are many, many Jewish lives that were interrupted, both by our enemies who killed them, and in other ways, that their lives were interrupted, and they didn't get to L'Olam V'ed. I know many Jewish children whose lives were interrupted by other Jews who didn't treat them right, by teachers who were angry and callous, by parents who didn't show them the love that they needed. And their Yiddishkeit was interrupted. And the Olam Va'ed is not there. And Moshe Rabbeinu saw that. So according to the Rebbe Melech and the Kushan Tzemagid, Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't say, in the Torah, couldn't say the words, Kvoid Malchus. According to the Abdur Rav, Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't say the words, L'Olam Va'ed. So Eskinu, the Gemara says, we whisper those words. So I'll tell you something that happened to me around 35, 40 years ago. I was teaching in a yeshiva, a wonderful, wonderful school in Queens called Ezra Academy. And I was teaching there 12th grade boys. None of them came from religious homes. The Sephardic ones came from traditional homes, the Sephardic. Even the ones who are not religious, they have a Messiah that they hold on to certain things, they saw things. There were many Ashkenazim, even Russian kids, others that grew up without any Yiddishkeit at all. And they were not, for the most part, they were not Shemesh Shabbos, these boys. And I was learning with them and trying to teach them and talk to them. And somehow in our learning that day, we came across the strange Chazal. Chazal say that when Mashiach comes, the person forgets and he makes a mistake and he's about to pull a fruit from a tree on Shabbos, that the tree is going to scream out Shabbos. Or if you like, Shabbat. But the tree is going to scream out Shabbos. So the guys were giggling. It's a funny thought. The tree is going to scream out Shabbos. So they were giggling a little bit. And there was one big guy. His name was Moshe. Big blonde boy. He was very, very far from keeping mitzvahs. And I asked him, tell me something, Moshe. When you turn on the light on Shabbos, does the light scream to, does the switch scream to Shabbos? Do you ever hear such a thing? That the light screams out Shabbos? You ever hear that? And everybody was looking at him. Maybe it wasn't nice that they did that. But we all knew where we stood. And everybody was looking at him, and he was very, very serious. He wasn't laughing or making fun. He was really serious. And he became emotional. And his eyes were red, and I didn't know where this was going. And this is what he said to me. I haven't forgotten it. I think about it a lot. He said to me, Rabbi, I don't hear the switch screaming, but sometimes I hear it whispering. Shabbos. Somewhere they can you hear this? Sometimes I hear it whispering, Shabbos. So when the Gemara says, Eskinu, that the Takana was made to say, Baruch Shem Kvod Malchus L'Olam V'ed V'Chashoy, to whisper the words. Because we can't say them out loud, because it wouldn't be completely honest. Except Yom Kippur. Otherwise, it wouldn't be completely honest. Psai mitzad the issue of Kvod HaMalchus, and mitzad the issue of L'Olam V'ed wouldn't be entirely honest. It wouldn't match the reality that we live in. But Chevra Jew has something else inside. And it's true that we can't say it out loud because the loud reality of this world, the Alma des Gali in the revealed world, is such Chilul Hashem, and was so lost, but so inconsistent. But Moshe was saying that day in the classroom, and everybody, when they heard that, everybody was silent. I went over to him, and I sat next to him, and I was holding him, he was crying. This big, strong guy was crying like a baby. Now Baruch Hashem has 4 children. He lives in Rishon LeZion. He keeps Shabbos. He was crying like a baby. Because even that kid, and some of you might have a child like this, or no children, you all know children like this, that they're not L'Olam V'ed. There's been an interruption to their Yiddishkeit. Or forget about your kid, even you yourself and me. When we have days or moments that are not days or moments that we'd be proud of. Everybody here knows what that is. There isn't one of you that doesn't know that and how that feels. See, even though you might not be saying the right thing, you might not be doing the right thing, but the Chashoy is a whisper. Shabbos. You know, the Gemara is saying that the Jewish heart is always whispering that truth. Baruch Shem Kvod Malchus L'Olam V'ed. I believe in that B'emunah Shleima personally. And that's why for these years of my life, all of these years of my life, I'm going around, and Hashem should give me strength, all of us strength to continue to going around and screaming Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, even when there are those who make fun and laugh and everything that seems to be crazy and upside down and the opposite. If you don't hear your child whispering, if at those times when your child is not doing well, you're not able to hear the child whisper, and at that time in your marriage, there might not be the greatest day in the marriage. If you're not able to hear, even though it could be the other one is saying, the spouse is saying, I'm not talking to you, I'm angry with you, you're this, you're that, but there's a whisper that's saying, I love you, I miss you, I want it to be the way that it was by the chuppah. I'm not happy arguing with you. I don't want to be this way. I don't want our marriage to go this way. I want it to be the way that it once was. When we got married, it wasn't this way. We were able to say out loud, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchus L'Olam Vaed. I don't want it this way. If you can't hear a Jew whisper, then you lose hope. Then you lose hope. So you know, by the Chassidim, it's the very beginning to tell stories on Moshe Shabbos. I mean, all the time it's good to tell stories. But especially on Moshe Shabbos, especially about the Baal Shem HaKadosh. That's the highest stories to tell. So we began with, Hey Osfu Vagida Lachem, that the Baal Shem has tremendous nachas to see his children coming together. You should fabrain, not just when you have some company that comes to see you. You should fabrain. You should have more fabrain. You should fabrain, you should get together. And I'm not talking about getting together for some thing that they call a Malav Malka, but it's really a fundraiser. You understand? They made Malav Malkas the fundraisers. You're supposed to have Malav Malka. You know what that is, Malav Malka? You know what it is. Look in this mirrors. There's a whole set of mirrors, Malav Malka. You light a candle. You sing mirrors. Tov Nasr Chayakayim. You may say, you may say Menucha. You may say Menucha. Altira Avdiyakoi. Jews should fabrang together. We began with Hey Osfu Vagid Lachem Asher Yikra Eschem Achas Yom, that the whole chiyus that we have is being with each other. Jews getting together, being mechazik each other. So once happened with the Baal Shem HaKadosh. The Baal Shem used to take very strange, mysterious trips. Sometimes he would go into the Medrash, and he would point two of the Chassidim and tell them they should come with him. And they always knew they were going someplace. They weren't able to see. Their eyes would be blindfolded. And he had a driver, a Russian driver, Alexa. And the Baal Shem HaKadosh would take these trips. He would show up someplace 1,000 miles away, 5 minutes later. So, you could believe in that. I believe in it 1,000%. If you don't believe it, you can still be called a mammon, maybe. I'm not sure. But I believe in it 1,000%. Kfis in there, Baal Shem. One time the Baal Shem HaKadosh himself went, and it was very strange, he very, very, very rarely would go on an Erev Shabbos. But this time, he didn't take any of the Chassidim. Erev Shabbos. And he went someplace far away. And he came to a certain shtetl. There were Jews there, and they heard that this was the Baal Shem Tov, and they knew not to ask questions. What's he doing over here? How did he get here? And the Baal Shem HaKadosh stayed in this place. I don't know where it was. The Baal Shem Tov was in this place. And they were expecting the Baal Shem, you have such a guest like the Baal Shem, it was going to be the happiest Shabbos of their lives. The Baal Shem was the happiest tzaddik in the world. The Baal Shem HaKadosh would walk into a room, he would always tell them right away to light more candles. Lichtig, lichtig, light, light. Vayir Malakim, he are. Gon Shlom, we need more light. He are. So they were expecting a beautiful lichtig Shabbos with the Baal Shem HaKadosh. The whole Shabbos he was right Brach, and he was crying, he was davening and crying, he stood in the corner davening, he could barely by the table, he barely put anything to his mouth, and never knew what to make of it anymore. Until finally, the very, very end, I thought Shabbos was ending. And it was Shal Shudas. And the Baal Shem HaKadosh said, "This is das." And he jumped up and he began singing. And he brought the whole place that was on fire, that was singing, and it was gewaldig. And after Shabbos, the Baal Shem was dancing with the Chassidim. It was the whole town, they were dancing. And they asked the Baal Shem, what was it? What happened? So the Baal Shem said that he saw from the Baal Shem that lived in Mezhbuz, right? Any of you ever been to Mezhbuz? Yeah? Okay. So the Baal Shem lived in Mezhbuz. What's called Ukraine now. The Carpathian Mountains. He lived over there. And the Baal Shem HaKadosh said, I saw there was a terrible gzeira that there was going to be, that the anti-Semites over here, the Cossacks around here, were planning to make a terrible pogrom on Shabbos. They were planning a pogrom. And I came here to daven. And I davened, and Chazde Hashem, the Gzeira was annulled. And finally, by Shal Shudas, I saw that it broke, and then what happened was whole Indian. I'm not have time to tell all the whole mice, but the Gzeira was annulled. So one of the Jews there got up the nerve to ask a very simple question. He said, "Rabbi, you knew that in Mezhbuz, right?" And Baal Shem said, "Yes." So why did you have to leave your family and the whole island over there in Mezhbuz? Why couldn't you daven in Mezhbuz? Why the transatlantic supersonic jet Kfisi Sadarach trip over here, someplace wherever this was in Romania, I don't know where. Why did you come over here? So Baal Shem said, "You're right, I knew about it in Mezhbuz. I could have davened in Mezhbuz. The reason I came here is because I wasn't sure that my davening was going to be effective. And if you were going to be killed, I wanted to be together with you." That's what he said. If you were going to be killed, Al Kiddush Hashem, I wanted to be with you, my brothers and sisters here in this town. You know what it means to be a Yid? This past year and a half, saying Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shem Kamachus Olam Vad. How many thousands and thousands of Jews that never say Shema Yisrael their whole lives? Maybe just by the Bar Mitzvah or Bas Mitzvah. And they're going out to war, screaming out of Shema Yisrael. They want to have tefillin, they want to have mezuzahs, they want to have tzitzis. The heart of the Jewish people is always whispering, as this past year has been screaming. Baal Shem HaKadosh said, I want to be with you, no matter what. That's what it means, Hey Osvu, that at the end of time, Jews have to feel that other Jews want to be with them, that we're with them, we're together with them. We can't do a Kfisi Sadarach on the Baal Shem. We don't know how to do that kind of stuff. We have to hear the whispering, the crying of our brothers and sisters, wherever they are. And the schus of our gathering together for Dosh of Kedusha, and the schus of our being able to hear our children whispering, no matter what they're screaming, and in our marriages, and in our lives, to hear that. We should be zeicher for that time, that there won't be any more Chalila, any more bad news after Shabbos, or after any day. There won't be any more bad news. And the time will come, we'll be zeicher, ki ayin ve'ayin yir b'shuv Hashem Sion. We'll be able to see Yaakov, all the tzaddikim will be zeicher to see with their own eyes of the Malka Mashiach and the Glash Van Vitis, and Heavy Amin on Main.